Okay, so my name is Erica Haig, and I'm interviewing
Carmen Evans.
Carmen Evans for Georgia State University's Women's March Oral History Project. The date is July 15th, 2017, and the interview is taking place at the Georgia Historical Society in Savannah, Georgia. If you could please tell me what year you were born and where you were born.
1982, I'm from Palmetto, Florida.
Can you describe your family's political leanings?
We're liberals, all Democrats since birth.
And so that's what party you would
Yes.
affiliate with. Okay. And what is your profession?
I'm an architect.
Awesome. It's a great city for that. So have you been involved in political activities in the past or marches in the past?
Not really, no. I've always been caring about it, but this is and held my own private protest of things, but not at this larger scale, no.
Mm-hmm. So what made you want to march in January?
I think the collective energy of it that kind of swelled after November 8th, kind of pushed me to actually show up that day, and it just seemed that it would be much more effective if every city was represented. Originally I was going to try to go to DC, but with my schedule that didn't seem tenable, so we did it here. And it seemed best to support this one.
So you marched locally?
Yeah, and actually I think that was more effective for the march in general because every local TV station across the U.S. had to tune in, whereas if it had only been in D.C., only the major networks could have covered it.
Can you tell me a little bit about the leading up to the march here? If you did anything to prepare or got a group together, anything like that?
I was on a lot of the local group things that had come out of the election. They've been named different things, and I've left some of them since then. Originally it was like Pantsuit Nation and then the offshoots. Mm-hmm. And when it was announced we wanted to do one locally, I was, on board with doing that, and then I didn't really work on the specifics of, how to do it. However, I think I was part of the sounding board in the group for, I guess Tracy Brisson pulled our permit and everything and made sure it happened. But just some of the larger coordination efforts were taken on by a few women.
So did you help with the organization of day of, or just?
Well, the day of I ended up, because I don't like large crowds, I ended up not, when I wasn't in Johnson Square, I guess it was in Wright Square? Was it? I can't remember the square name. One in front of Johnson. There was two groups going on at one time. And so I was kind of sitting on the edge of the square and with Tracy, because she had her baby with her. And so the talking kind of went over a little bit longer than it should have for the march part. And I ended up calling everyone to march because everybody else was kind of like not wanting to yell. And I just started yelling, "Let's march." And then we realized really quickly that our permit, was told to us that we could not march in the streets. We had to stay on the sidewalk. And but people were going to disregard traffic. And I thought, that's not really fair to the citizens. And so I ended up at the intersection telling people to stop so we could let cars go through. So I ended up doing that just kind of spontaneously, slightly being a moderator there.
Yeah.
So people get really gun-ho on being kind of rude during these things, and I'm just like, these people need to go about their day. Like, let's not ruin their day.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with where the march took place in Savannah, so can you tell me a little bit more about where it was and where you marched around?
There was one group at Johnson Square, which they were more focused on having set up speakers and stages, and then the square south, I want to say it's Wright Square, they had just a megaphone and people more sharing individual stories of why like things to healthcare and immigration would affect them. And I was at that group, but throughout the week beforehand, and it was literally just the week beforehand, the two groups had coordinated that we didn't need to just have a rally. Originally it was just going to be a rally. And Tracy said, no, we need a march. And so the march was going to go up Bull Street to Forsyth. And so we coordinated that, I can't remember what time it was, maybe like 11 or noon or something, we would march. We would all collectively go in a stream up there. And that's just how it happened.
Is there a reason why you felt drawn toward the one group over the other?
I think it's just because I had originally signed up for the one. And I didn't know that the other one, and there was just a mass confusion, and finally the two groups came together. Where it ended up being good because so many people turned out. We needed 2 squares.
Yeah. So were there a lot of people with posters or? Oh
yeah, there's lots of posters about some very angry posters, some more comical posters, but people really showed up with it.
Do you have a few favorites that you saw?
My friend Josh had one that I'm not like, I don't normally protest, but geez. There's a bunch of those, you know. There was a lot for equality. I took a picture of one lady, and it was like, I've already done this back in 1960 something, and that one was good. So, yeah.
You also mentioned that you started a sort of chant or to.
I was just saying, everyone was, I was like, when are we starting this march? And they were like texting to find out who's doing once, and I don't like waiting, and so I just yelled, let's march, and to get everybody to go.
Yeah. So. Were there any other chants that you all did, or?
Not really. I don't think so. People were just holding their signs up, and which was good because it was effective with the tour buses around and the trolleys. Yeah. People stopping and looking at that.
Did you get a lot of like questions from folks while you were marching?
Only when we were walking before it started, I got a few questions. Like one woman, it seemed that she had never heard of anything that was happening. Like, and you wondered if she had, and her partner had even watched the election or the news in general. She was like, "Why are you marching? Like, where have you been?" It's like every newspaper is covered this.
Yeah.
So we got a couple of those, and we got a couple of really dirty looks from the trolleys, like, go back, you know, like, don't. Surprisingly, a car with a Make America Great Again hat driver was kind enough to stop and let us march very nicely. So it wasn't always bad.
Yeah.
So
that's good. So pre-march, like, what were you expecting, and how did the reality sort of live up to or not?
It seemed like a typical Savannah function. Everybody's kind, and everybody just goes with the flow, which is what I expected. I think I was expecting more reports out of the bigger cities that there could be more angst, and I was really pleased that it wasn't like that in the end. I think that had the collective spirit not been calm and let's just, you know, say our piece, there were people involved that were ready to take it to the next level. So I did purposely not bring my son to it because of that. I was afraid that there's always that possibility with crowds, so I didn't want him in there.
And how old is he?
He's 3.
Did you see, like, other people with kids there?
Yeah, a lot of people were, and the kids were fine. Like I said, it's Savannah. No, everybody's fine. But I just personally, like, didn't want to have to focus with them in a crowd and everything. Yeah.
Did you go by yourself, or did you go in a group?
I showed up by myself, but I found some friends of mine.
So was communication or technology, like, an issue for?
No, the day of, I didn't really use technology. I just kind of kept my eyes open for people. That's it.
Did you have, were your friends and family supportive of you going?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. My husband was planning on going, but I asked him to stay back with our son. And then my family back home, some of them went to the Sarasota March. I don't know why my mom didn't. I think she had something that day. But yeah, they're all really supportive.
Did you talk to your have you talked to your son at all about like what's happening and why you were going?
He asked what my poster was, and I told him it was a protest poster.
Yeah.
And he wanted to draw on it with me. So that's about it. Yeah.
Can you describe, I guess, some of the your fellow protesters, like people that you may have been around or with at different points during the march?
I really wasn't like in the crowd, so I was just mainly with Tracy and Josh and some of their friends that stopped by. Like I said, I'm not a crowd person. But there was a lot of people getting upset as the speeches went on, like very passionate about their health care. That seemed to be the issue of the day. I think we've all dealt with women not having equal rights for so long that it's not really immediately affecting us if we don't have them much longer, you know, if it continues, whereas the healthcare is an immediate problem.
Yeah.
So that seemed to be like the issue of the day.
Do you think that has been a continuing problem? Do you still think that there's been like an impact from the march regarding healthcare?
No. I was disappointed with the way Pantsuit Nation as a group operated itself on the national and local level, so I discontinued following them and let the national person know that I thought it was disgusting what she did.
Mm-hmm.
She tried to turn all the stories into a book, claiming it was for a 501c3 so we can all have heartwarming memories of what we had accomplished. And I said, I'm a grown woman, I don't need a heartwarming memory, I need change. And she had everyone on board with her, and she maybe didn't want to take on the issue, which is fine, but other capable people could have. And instead of transferring it, she chose that part. And at the local level, I guess I do like how they stay involved with everything going on, you know, and that is there. But originally I was going to get very gung-ho on being a member of it all. And then the moment people would disagree with them, they would take them down very quickly. Mm-hmm. And I didn't like that. And this was just one or two instances. I can't speak collectively for a group, but in multiple groups I saw this.
And this is like on Facebook.
Yeah, on the social media. And I didn't like that because it didn't enter in the human perspective of maybe that other person's a moderate, and doesn't mean that moderates can't affect change. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and then some things happened in my life, like, yeah, it didn't seem like a place for me to be.
Have you gone to anything like a local, like in-person event for any of the issues that you feel passionate about?
A lot of them happen during my work hours, and I have not. I have shared them, I've supported them in that sense, like tried to get other people to go, but no, not really.
The struggle is real. I feel you. How, like, after the march, how did the march, like, make you feel? And
I no longer, like, have an excuse not to contact people. And one of the things that came out of the march, that I haven't mentioned yet, was, well, no, this wasn't out of the march. This happened before the march, actually. Right after the election, I sent out a message, and I invited people to my house for coffee and to discuss things. And it was, and in that 7 people came, 5 of them I didn't know, and in that I passed out the names and numbers of every representative we had, and a map to pick out your district. And since then, we as a group, we we communicate with each other, but we now all call, like, all the time, at least once a week. I know that for sure. It's like when there's an issue, we all call. And I think before then, I don't know that was happening. And it wasn't happening for me. And now I call. Even though David Perdue does not answer anything, I email. Like, I call everyone now and let them know what's just not okay. I'm very aware of the very little impact it has, but I do make the calls now.
Yeah. Do you, you said that you call like about once a week. Is it on different issues as they become?
Yeah, as they become public. Like recently, an example would be the healthcare law being done mostly in secret, which frankly, as a business person, I'm not completely against people figuring out the details and then coming public with it. I was concerned more that they, even if they were concerned about Republican Democrat, they had Republican members of Congress who are from the healthcare industry that were not included in the discussion. And so I called and said that. But it turned out that was an easy issue for even the most diehard conservative to agree with. And so it was kind of silly. I've called to let Barty Carter know that he has to stop publicly sending newsletters in support of Trump because it's not going over well here. He should know that. Like, and I've noticed they've died down a little bit. Like, I just like things like that. And just when an issue comes up, that they need to know that you can't just gung-ho on doing this, which does seem to be having an effect nationally. Everybody seems to be doing that.
Do you feel like things have changed around here locally some about?
No. Not at all. But local politics are not national politics. But I think what it has done is made everyone realize that you can run for a seat, you can become a city councilman, and we don't have to deal with the same old people every single time. But I think that was already happening a little bit when Trump got on the ticket, and when his swell of support in early 2016 happened, I noticed that we had more people running for mayor, more people running for city council than we had previously. It seemed. I mean, I can't give you complete Democratic history, but yeah, like people were more likely to step forward.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about running?
I have. I don't know that I will, but I have.
Did you, you said that you had a signboard?
Yeah.
Can you, describe it?
Yeah, on one side it said, "Do you even science, bro? Climate change is real." And the other side said, "Women's rights is human rights." The climate change one got more likes. And then I made a t-shirt, because I like to do that. I paint t-shirts sometimes, and it said "Speak, Act, Vote." And my husband pointed out that said SAV, and I didn't even realize it. He's like, "You have an organization name right there." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Yeah.
That's awesome. Did you see other folks that had maybe handmade items?
Yeah, a lot of people had handmade signs all over, some shirts coming out and things like that. But I don't really remember everything. But yeah, it was a pretty creative bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, Savannah, so it was creative.
You mentioned speakers earlier. Did you get to hear any of them, or were you further away?
I heard one of the more professional speakers in Johnson Square, which I can't remember what she was talking about, but I really liked what she was saying. She was really good. Oh, she was talking about the sea levels rising, and how it just can't be ignored in a coastal region, and we're idiotic to be ignoring it, regardless of how you feel at climate change as a whole. And then I couldn't hear anything on the blowhorn at Wright Square at all. I mean, words populating, but that's it.
Yeah. Did you see any coverage of the media before or after the event, either local or national?
Yeah.
That sort of made you feel a certain way, or
I liked the coverage nationally, and again, because it wasn't DC, they couldn't cut and paint their own pictures. When it was revealed that it was 3 million people internationally, actually, that made a more powerful picture. Social media wise, it was very interesting. You can see how, from these things, how a limited perspective gets shaped by memes. And even though there was no documented incidences of crime, there was, within hours, quick to point out the signs left at the White House and how we trashed America. And just like little things like that, and that because the night before the march, some anarchists went out and did do bad things that weren't associated with us. Those were quickly made into memes to make it associated with us. And people I know that don't share my values completely, like, were sharing those, and they had nothing to do with the day. But it made me realize how quickly, how terrible at message management our party is. And it afterwards, that just hit home, was that we could have totally capitalized on this, and it wasn't up to the Women's March to do so. The national parties could have just totally capitalized on it, and they didn't do anything with it. Nothing. I mean, maybe they are, but I don't see anything coming of it.
Yeah. Other
than some women wearing white that are senators on the floor, I was like, come on. That's what you're doing?
Yeah.
They don't seem to understand messaging. I've never understood that.
So it seems like you've been pretty active in like the social media aspect of this.
I was, not so much anymore, but
yeah. Yes. How do you feel like that sort of has impacted or not, like, the amount of information that's getting out, or sometimes wrong information that's getting out?
I think it's a very powerful tool, but it's completely useless at changing anyone's mind. And I also think it creates a collective mob mentality, which is dangerous on either side. However, thinking is the key to solving anything is silly. I use it now for like updates from the NRDC, so I know where they're drilling next. Like, that's the kind of stuff I respond to now. I don't respond to the personal stories of healthcare loss or this or that and the other, because I wonder, are they talking to the right people? And it was nice during election day to have that sounding board, to be able to let the outlet out and share in the moment, and I felt like that was nice. Mm-hmm. But in the end, you realize I didn't stand up and publicly put my feelings out there at the election, and I didn't do it because I have neighbors and things that I couldn't jeopardize. And I don't know that it would have made a difference if I did. It just, I don't want to hide my feelings anymore.
Yeah.
But I also think that he's screwing up so much now, you don't have to. Like,
yeah. Were there any moments that stand out, either before, during, after the march, that sort of made you feel positive or negative about events as a whole?
Positive was the police officers, even though they weren't being paid, helping us. Helping with traffic. Mm-hmm. Negative was when I posted after the march, please thank your police officer for helping us. Mm-hmm. And the comment coming in, they should do that anyways, that's their job. I said, doesn't hurt to thank a police officer. It won't. Oh, I know, but, and that rhetoric just kept so quick to always have the opposite And it's not that my opinion's the best opinion or the only opinion, but I realized I just shut off, that's when I shut off all the groups, because I don't need to be trolled every day by someone telling me my idea was stupid. And it was literally to say thank you to a police officer.
Yeah.
Who at the Atlanta marches were like really helping, and these people really don't have to, even if they're paid, they don't have to be like kind about it, and they were. They were really doing what they could.
Yeah. So did you have any personal interactions with the police officers here in Savannah?
Only like walking by and just being like thank you, like
yeah,
and it was cool to them. And also, because I was with Tracy told me some things just in our little group. They were ridiculously helpful in getting her an expedited permit for this march. So, way to go. They didn't have to, apparently. They could have taken weeks.
Yeah.
And they got it for us in days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know anything else about like the how that process went for getting the local march going? Like if there was like an insider help that like sort of pushed that along, or?
It was Tracy. She saw that the two groups were happening,
Mm-hmm.
which was not us, but saw it happening, but didn't want to just stand there and talk. And she was just like, no one's else gonna do this, and she went and got a permit. So she was pretty good at that.
Just going through all this. So what do you hope will happen in the future out of this?
Out of this?
Yeah.
I hope that people collectively don't dim their awakened light bulb, and I hope I never have to hear a niece or nephew vote on one issue again, which I heard this time. And I just hope people would stop treating everybody who disagrees with them as the enemy, because I don't think Republican people are bad people, and even the people I disagree with the most at one point has a reasoning for why they believe what they do. And so sitting around and yelling at each other for being different doesn't do anything. So it's just a waste of time. So that's what I hope. It's not that I think that we're going to go out and have collective conversations and solve all these problems in our community just by talking to each other. I think where it matters is that with our elected politicians, letting them know that the quips and the taglines for the media aren't helping anybody. So, however, Facebook's not going away, so I don't think that's going to go away either. So.
Would you be alright with sharing what the one issue that may have swayed some of your family members was?
What you
you mentioned that people were voting because of one issue.
Oh, my niece said she was voting because of Bernie's stance on campaign finance reform, of all the things. And she's like, that's really important to me. And she's very educated. And it's not that it's not important, but I noticed there was a trend that if there was that one issue, I wanted her to see that collectively the two candidates were quite similar. And that was all. It was just, I wanted her to look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
But she wasn't the only one guilty of this. My cousins did the same thing, and it's, war policies, that was another big one. That Hillary was going to get us in another war. And my opinion was, not that we should go to war, but it's not that it can't happen. So to act like we don't have them is not very helpful. So it's not helpful to anybody. So there was no swaying the Sanders camp in my family, on both sides of my family.
So, is there anything that you fear from the current sort of regime, or the way that mass media or anything else is portraying the current situation?
I think violence is the biggest thing, that when they incorrectly portray crowd sizes, and I don't mean the election, but I mean like at local events, and whether violence occurred, where violence occurred, it causes problems on both sides. And the fact that we don't have or we're just now getting a national database of our mass shootings and things like that, it just does us a disservice as a society. So.
Do you feel like the Women's March as a movement can sort of maintain the momentum that it's had?
If they found another issue and hired people to actually write the policy on it properly, and it not be done just with signs, but the fact is where we are defeating things we don't agree with is in the legislative process, and we have to be armed with lawyers. So there's a lot of smart women lawyers out there, and male lawyers that agree with us. And to me, if they had a fund for me to support that, or if there's another national fund that's what they want to do, that's where I would put my money.
Yeah.
Because I don't need another body positive movement. I don't need another you can lead movement or anything like that. There's already Girl Scouts. We need to put things where things can change immediately. And to do that, you have to fight the laws at the federal level.
How have you felt about the activities in the government since the march? Or I guess even since you took office?
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised, I'm a little shocked about the deportation process. And not the ban. The ban was coming, which would be struck down, but more of you can't change an individual officer's opinion of an immigrant if they don't like them, and people can get hurt and taken away from their families, so I don't like that. And I don't like how it's glossed over by the administration. I wasn't surprised that he still talks about women terribly. The fact that people are is amazing. And he hasn't done anything. So, but where he has done anything is with the immigration, and then also our natural resources, because those can all be done with the stroke of a pen. And that worries me. That worries me a lot.
Yeah. You mentioned that your sign had about climate change on it. Did you march in one of the March for Sciences?
No, I did not. I was gone or doing something one of those days. But I actually am a sustainability professional. Oh, okay. So it's my job to make sure certain buildings are sustainable and review them for energy efficiency. So I do have an impact daily on that. And I'm also the chair of the local Green Building Council. So I do it in other ways.
Yeah. Do you think that like the March for Science, how it was sort of organized, do you think that those two, that and the Women's March, can sort of learn from each other in any way?
It didn't have as many celebrities. I hated the celebrities at the Women's March. I hated it so much. Not because they didn't have valid whatever. I was just listening on the radio the way over here about a thing on women equality in the workplace, and there's words, and one of them was that when a man says the word academy, anybody, female or male, responds with the word school. If a woman says the word academy, a man or female will respond with the word awards. And I think that if we keep equating each other, equating our sex with celebrity culture, and not people that are scientists or policy leaders or lawyers or leaders in our community only. It's a huge disservice to our movement, to anyone's movement, because again, it's not that these women are not citizens of the United States, but they don't get special citizen status because they're pretty. And right now it's very clear that they do. And that's a huge disservice to anybody, especially in my position, because you can do all this work and you can do all these things, and then it just totally reinstates that unless you look a certain way, you're not going to be put on the podium. And I know there was other speakers, and I'm not dumb, but like, why was Scarlett Johansson and Madonna representing us at the national level? Why? And not like a major scientist or something. Like, it. I understand we already have the media attention. There's no need to use that to get media attention. And in that sense, I will say it, his tweet was correct about that. Huge disservice to your thing. He said that. And everybody fought back against it. But it wasn't wrong, because all it did was give us something to take focus on off the issues at hand. So you can only be serious if you treat yourself seriously.
Do you have any advice for anyone that is considering going to a march in the future or participating in one?
Find out what it's about, down to the organizers, and make sure you agree with it. And if you don't agree with it, you want to be a part of it, let them know why you don't agree with it. Because if they end up attacking someone physically or verbally, you may not want to be a part of that. And then do your own thing when you get there. Don't be afraid to use your own voice. Don't wait to be led. Because someone might be leading you somewhere you don't want to go.
Is there anything that you want to talk about before, during, after the march, or anything that you've done since to sort of maybe keep your spirits up or feel more positively about the situation that's sort of existing in?
I turned off the noise from all the groups. I mean, I still technically can go and find out the information, which I do, but that was a huge positive step. But the other thing is I just focused on the things that I could change. And I'm pregnant, so I focused on that. And, but sitting in a well of sorrowness because someone we didn't like get elected. I've already lived through that. It happened in 2000, and the world didn't burn down. The difference is this time as our standing is going to change. However, we're a young nation, and to pretend that we could have maintained the #1 status forever without fault is naive. And this has provided us with a huge test, and we're passing it. You know, the democratic leadership not necessarily is, but as citizens we are. Mm-hmm. And that's something to be proud of. We're not being told to go back to shopping, and we're not listening to that kind of rhetoric. We're just being told, like, we're all being aware now. And when you hear commentators changing their stories and changing sides and things happening like that, that's what you should be focusing on. Mm-hmm. If I focus on it, something that any idiot did every day, I wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, even if he were to be here 8 years, mm-hmm. even if 15 national monuments go away and all these kind of things happen, it does not make our life worse than it was necessarily, than it may have been at another point in history. Mm-hmm. We just right now are not moving forward. And that's okay, in a sense that we can't always make leaps and bounds every day. It's just, that's what's happening right now. We're just not going forward. So I'm more scared about when he gets impeached or resigns than the next guy.
Yes.
Because he's actually educated a little bit.
Knows the system.
I was more scared of Ted Cruz than I was Donald Trump.
Yeah. Can you explain a little bit more why?
Because he's intelligent and he's an ideologue, and that's much more dangerous than just an ideologue. He was a lawyer, and I mean a very, very prominent, successful lawyer, and that's more dangerous to me than anything.
I don't have really anything else, but if you want to talk about anything else, I'm more than happy to, because I'm enjoying the conversation.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know about much in the Savannah scene. So if there's anything that's happened since then, or something that you've been involved in, or wanted to be involved in but couldn't.
No, I think it's just made me more aware of everything going on, and try to follow more of what our city councilmen are doing. And I don't like how much power they have. That they can override commissions and other boards and things just because they disagree with what fact is. And it just makes me want to follow that closer and see what's going on there.
Yeah. I did have one question about the group that you have that calls. Has that expanded at all? Have you all met up again?
I usually purposely said when it was just 6 of us, we meet up because we're friends in life now, but we said we would not invite other people in purposely because we didn't want to deal with other people.
Yeah.
And now, originally we're to tackle issues between babies and houses and family deaths and things. The on-site activism has taken a back seat, and that's probably our own fault. But we do make each other aware of things, which right there I think is tackling 90% of the problem.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have new friends.
Do you feel like having that sort of like network or support system helps you choose which, or like be more aware, or like be more active, like with the?
I don't know. It helps to have a group of people that I can have adult conversation with, even when children are around, because they're all very serious people.
Yeah.
Nice and fun people, but they're very serious, and because we know each other's political views, we don't always have to only talk about our kids. And we're all professionals, so we can talk about our work too. It's not like a big thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of that in your life, once you become a mom, you have to hide all that other stuff. Who you support, what you do all day, all that kind of stuff goes away.
Is it, I'm a mother, so is it because of like meeting other people like through your children?
Well, your kids spend so much time with other kids, and so you don't want to piss off their parents or your teachers until you know, and you don't want to offend a stay-at-home mother versus a working mother. And there's all these things, and stay-at-home mothers don't necessarily want to know what I do all day and all that. And so it's really relaxing when I am with this other 6 people, because we literally can talk about whatever.
Yeah.
And it's perfectly chill. And it's not necessarily like a safe space. It's just more of like I can be myself space, I guess. I don't have to put so many shields up.
Yeah. The other question that I had that I was going to ask you was about if there were, at the march here in Savannah, if it was like a good mix of like ages and races and like orientations. Or
it did seem to be that. Actually, it did seem to be quite, whatever term you want to use, it was populated very diversely. Yeah.
So do you feel like that sort of succeeded, being transsexual in the having everyone sort of involved?
Yeah, it did. And that's, I think, what we could capitalize on. I heard something last night about the reason why gay marriage was passed was because we stopped calling it gay marriage and called it marriage equality. And I thought about that, and it was like, and they were talking about it in relation to entitlement programs. And when you do take those labels off things and just rephrasing things, because marketing is important, you do get more people involved. So maybe because it was called the Women's March on Washington, and maybe not instead calling it the Women's Power or Women's this, Women's, I don't know, some other that's more personal. It allowed the husbands, it allowed everyone to show up.
Yeah.
Because of course I support my wife, of course I support all that stuff. You do need to allow the other people into the room.
Yeah. So gotta work on it together. That's all I have. Is there anything else that you'd like to share?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.